There we go. We're going to start with our second workshop for today. Joining us is Roscoe from Revoke or Revoke Cash, which will share his insights on taking back control of your wallet. I think Revoke is also a great example of a pure open source polygon project. I'm sure we'll touch on that a little bit on that later. I think for now, I'm just going to hand it over to Roscoe and feel free to take it away.
Cool. Thanks so much. I accidentally muted myself. Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, also thanks for organizing this 30 days of Web3. It's pretty cool stuff to see a lot of people wanting to contribute to open source in crypto. So I'll start with some background on Revoke. So let me share my screen. So I'll just share the entire screen. Yeah, I'll just do this. Can people see? I don't know. Looks like it's not showing the presentation. Wait, let me just reshare.
It is. I can see your.
Oh, but it wasn't showing the. I'll just share the entire screen, so that when I press this, it goes in full screen. I think that was missing.
Very good. Yep.
So, hey guys, I'm Roscoe. I'm the creator of Revoke.cash, which is a security tool in Web3 that allows you to manage your token approvals. This presentation is kind of like the background of how or like why I created this and sort of how it has evolved over the past years. So I created Revoke.cash back in 2019, and back then crypto I feel like was a lot smaller than it is now. So these are some of the apps that were already live in 2019, but that was kind of basically it. So we had like Uniswap, we had OpenSea, but yeah, we had Uniswap, but not that many tokens to trade on it, and similarly OpenSea, but not that many NFTs to trade yet. And so I screenshotted the TVL of the date that around the date that the Revoke was launched. So it was like still half a billion, and like if you compare that to what happened after that, and also still what the TVL of crypto is today, yeah, it was still a lot smaller. But at the same time, all of these apps that were already existed, this DeFi that was existing, they all had this like concept of token approvals, where if you want to sell your NFT on OpenSea, you have to give OpenSea access to your tokens, and if you want to sell or like trade swap tokens on Uniswap, you have to give Uniswap access to the tokens that you want to swap. And so around this time, I attended DevCon 5 in Osaka, and there I met this guy, Paul Berg, the creator of Sablier, which is a money streaming platform, and he had this presentation about token approvals, about the risks that this might have, because as you can imagine, if you're giving these projects access to your token or to your tokens, then you're giving them access to your tokens for better and for worse. So if these platforms end up having a bug that allows some hacker to exploit the smart contract, then maybe those tokens that you gave access to are at risk. And so yeah, that idea kind of stuck with me. And so after the after the conference, I launched revoke.cash. So just a few days after, I figured, we need to have something to manage these token approvals to make sure that you don't lose your money because of that. And so October 13th, I launched the first version of revoke.cash, which looked still very rudimentary. This is kind of what the first version looked like. So just like a big list of the tokens you own, and then just a revoke buttons for your approvals without anything else. But it worked. So you could use it, and I think that is basically what the the main thing here is, when creating projects in Web3 and or outside of it, I think it makes sense to just launch with the minimum thing you can get away with, and in this case, it was just a big list without any styling. But then over the time that followed, I kind of, by February 2020, a few months later, I kind of tried to improve the UI a little bit. So we had some like token logos, created a logo for the project, added some new functionality, started adding some labels for contracts as well. So rather than saying, an allowance to 0x ABC, you would have an allowance to, Aave, MakerDAO, the projects behind it. So wait, one second. Just gonna close real quick. So then, in the same year, in 2020, we saw DeFi Summer, which was sort of the first big explosion of DeFi applications, and was how people got introduced to DeFi and to like things like yield farming, liquidity providing, all these kind of concepts that are a big part of crypto now. But with that DeFi summer, with that popularity, we also saw a lot of scams popping up, such as this one, Unicat, which basically asks you to stake your Uniswap tokens, and then you would get meow in return. But actually, when you gave a token approval to this app, they ended up just stealing all those tokens out of your wallet. So even like not only the tokens that you deposited into their farm, but also the tokens that you just gave an approval to were stolen a few weeks later when the project turned out to be a scam. And so that for a lot of people, that was also the introduction to getting scammed, losing money because of token approvals. And so that kind of brought some eyes and kind of explain to people that token approvals can actually be dangerous. And then not too far later, we also saw the first big occurrence of a legitimate project being hacked, where like approved funds were stolen as well. So this was the Fur Combo hack in February 2021, and so Fur Combo was this project where you could easily combine different DeFi actions into a single transaction through like a drag and drop interface. And so a lot of people had approved tokens to this this project, because then that would allow them to like execute a bunch of things after each other. And this was a very legitimate project. Like the developers were actually it was a lot of people use this, but then no one is perfect, and because of some bugs in the contract and some mistakes in sort of the governance process, hackers were actually able to drain the wallets of anyone that used or that had token approvals for a combo. And so I think together with like the scams and the legitimate projects being hacked, that really solidified the sort of the need for a solution to manage your token approvals. And so then, of course, after that, we saw the rise of NFTs in 2021. And so while earlier on, a lot of these like token approval based scams and hacks mainly targeted fungible tokens, now they were also starting to target NFTs. And so that meant we need to have a support for NFTs on Revoke, right? So in July of 2021, in the mid of the bull market, the NFT bull market, we added support for NFTs as well, which helps people keep their NFTs safe. And at the same time, also during the bull market, we saw that a lot of alternative layer one chains started taking off. So token approvals and security wasn't just a problem for Ethereum anymore, but also for a bunch of these other chains like Binance, Avalanche, and also the emerging L2s like Optimism and Arbitrum. So in 2021 in 2022, we added a bunch of additional chains, support for a bunch of additional chains. And also we started, adding some additional content to help educate people. But over the time, we kind of noticed that this sort of interface is a bit limited in what it can do, and also in usability. So I decided to do a makeover about a year ago, and so what I made of it is more of like a table kind of interface, which makes it easier to see at glance, what token approvals do we have, and having this kind of website structure also makes it easier to add additional features or additional sort of applications within the application. And while this was the hack that sort of started helping people realize the dangers, by 2023, this is what that looked like. So a bunch more projects were getting exploited. One of the bigger ones last year was this Uniswap bug, which was a really crazy event, because Uniswap is a very established player in the field, so people kind of tend to trust these big projects. And this event kind of showed as well that like I said before, nobody's perfect. So even these big projects can get compromised. Like their code can still contain bugs that might be exploited. And so with that, we wanted to create an easier way for people to see if they were affected by these exploits, which led to the approval exploit checkers. So rather than having to go through your whole list of approvals to figure out if you're affected, we created this simple tool where you just enter your wallet and it tells you, it tells you, are you affected by this or not? And so that has been used a lot. And so whenever there's an exploit, we can very easily add one of these pages for that new exploit, so that people can figure out if they're safe or not. But there still is one problem, I think, or one focus area for Revoke in the coming time, which is this kind of what the website, the turbo checker looks like nowadays. And so in September 2023, we started adding this value at a risk to the approval checker, and we also added this sort of wallet health score in combination with Napster, which is another security company in the space. And the idea behind that is that rather than just showing this big list of 42 approvals that I have, we kind of want to give people more insight into like what that means. So that idea already sort of started with these labels that we touched on earlier. Kind of understanding who you're giving an approval to, but then that's not the only thing that you need to be aware of. So that's why we started looking at, okay, but how much value is at risk here? So like how much, what's the dollar amount actually? To kind of help people understand whether they should revoke their approvals or not. And I think this sort of thing in like about providing insight is the biggest focus point, at least this year. So we kind of want to do that a lot more. So for example, here you see that the NFTs don't really have pricing information yet. So that's definitely something that needs to be added. But then also we want to give more insight into what these spenders are, like what are these addresses, besides just labeling them. We should also kind of help people understand what the risks are that associated with it. So that's the idea in the coming time, to kind of associate some like risk scoring mechanisms, where we will be able to like tell users, this is a high risk or medium risk, and also explain why that is, so that people can make more informed decisions about their wallets. And so that brings us to the end of the presentation about sort of the background of the past couple of years of the Revoke Cash project. So I also kind of want to do a quick sort of run through of the live website to kind of show what we're at right now. So as you can see in the presentation as well, we have this website which shows your token approvals. My internet's shitting bad. I guess it is. Internet's pretty shitty right now. Let's see. Yeah, so we have this this whole table with all your approvals, and so this is, for example, already one way where we're trying to help people understand more about the risks. So, for example, this is an address that has been hacked. So if you see this, you should definitely revoke the approvals. Then we also started adding this sort of like warning for approvals that are old. So these are approvals that are more than a year old. So generally speaking, you kind of don't want to keep all these like old approvals around. And then one other big thing that we started doing is trying to provide more educational content for users. So what actually are token approvals, what are permit signatures, these kinds of things, and we kind of want to expand that in the coming time as well, so that people kind of understand better what it means to really stay safe in Web3 and what they have to do about that. And then so for the open source editions, I think there's a few things that we already sort of were added during the past couple of weeks by open source contributors. So one of these is the indication of old approvals in this pull request here, which I just touched on. Is this basically this warning. So that's something that was done by an open source contributor. And then another big one is adding the searchable list of networks. So this is the list of supported networks. So it has become a pretty huge list over the years. So I can imagine you kind of want to search for specific ones. So if you want to have your Doge chain, then you can search for these. And so that's also a feature that was added by our open source contributor community in the past weeks. And there's also some more pull requests still open by some of you guys that have some changes requested and are in the process of sort of adding the functionality. And so I also opened a few of the example good first issues that we added for this. So this is the add last cancelled column to permit marketplace signatures, which is this. Let's go back to Ethereum. So these are signatures, but similar to the approvals here, we have a last updated. So we kind of want to have a similar thing for the signatures thing, and this is being picked up by someone from the 30 Days of Web3. So that's pretty great. And then there's sort of these two issues that are sort of like an open application. So write educational content or add support for more blockchains. So there's a lot of people using a lot of different blockchains. So if you have one of these, or you have some interesting knowledge about certain topics in blockchain, like some expert knowledge, then those would be some very interesting additions to the website. And then there's some other sort of good first issues that can be picked up by the open source community. So I think that is the sort of the gist of it. So everything about revoke.cash is open source. So there's instructions on running it locally, as well as the environment variables that Revoke uses, and especially adding a new network. That's this whole step-by-step process that is explained here, so that anyone can kind of add new blockchains to the project if they're missing their favorite ones. And so I think so Wesley also asked if I could add a little bit about the sort of sustainable open source model. So I also opened up these sort of grant programs that Revoke participates in. So of course, most people know Gitcoin grants, which is something that we participate in every round, and is a big contributor to being able to basically create public goods and free and open source tools. So this was, for example, last round where we had over 12,000 people contributing over 20 or almost $26,000. And so these rounds they happen multiple times a year. So kind of because of the support of our users that find value in this project, it's possible to kind of keep the whole project free as well, and keep adding features, keep developing, so yeah, I think in terms of getting there, I think Revoke started, like I said, in 2019, more as a side project, while I was working just as a contractor for other companies in the crypto space, and it kind of grew organically. So I started spending more time on Revoke, less time on jobs, and then at some point in 2022, I started working on this full time. And so I think that is definitely a good way to go about it, because it is very, very hard to create a new public good, like build open source software that is immediately successful and will immediately get a bunch of funding from donations and from grants. So I think sort of like building something small and working from there, and sort of like proving the worth before getting like funding. I think that's definitely the way to go, and that's what worked for Revoke Cash and for me. And then that now there's a bunch of programs like Gitcoin grants. There's the Optimism retroactive public goods funding that helps a lot. Now there's also Octant, which is another public goods funding mechanism. So I think within crypto, we really kind of created this ecosystem where people want to support and sort of foster this kind of public goods ecosystem, which I think is pretty unique in compared to like a lot of other fields. So I think if you're in crypto, I think public goods with all these problems, or sorry, with all these programs wanting to help foster the public goods ecosystem, I think it's one of the best places to try to build free and open source software sustainably. So yeah, that's basically that is the presentation that I prepared.
Oh, sorry. But amazing story. Always love to see those history lessons as well, to see how that impacted the development of your project. And thanks
For sure.
Public goods funding. That's definitely an amazing journey. I think Revoke is a prime example of how you can build open source tool in a sustainable way, really by just providing value and showing that to the ecosystem, and then getting rewarded for it without necessarily having a business model to that. So exactly. Yeah, amazing story, and thanks for sharing that.
Thanks.
Let's see.
Do you want to have some Q&A or?
Yeah, I see a few people typing. To wait for those. Just thank yous. Amazing story. Yeah, I'm curious, before we wrap up, do you have any estimate of how much money is lost due to bad or infinite token approvals?
A lot. I think so. On the Revoke.cash, the exploit checker that I showed earlier, that kind of keeps track of a lot of like legitimate projects being hacked and that figure is almost at $400 million now. Only lost from like approved, like token approval. So there's of course there's still a bunch more money that is lost from just like smart contracts getting drained. But just looking at token approvals, looks like we're about 400 million. But then token approvals are also abused by scammers and by like phishing a lot. And so I think those figures probably even go above the 400 million, because there's so many scammers that just try to like steal your money, also using these token approvals. So yeah, it might be over $1 billion in like lifetime losses from token approvals.
That's crazy. So even indicates more that it's such an important project that you're working on. As you were running over time, so I think we're gonna wrap things up here. Roscoe's in the channel. If you have any questions or want to follow up, please feel free. Otherwise, happy to relay any other questions as well. But thanks again, Roscoe. Thanks for your service and thanks for joining.
Thanks
Hope
for
some
having
more
me
contributions
on.
in.
Yeah, sounds great. Yeah, I see some questions in the chat, so I'll answer in the chat, so we can continue on with the next workshop.
Thank you. Cool. There we go. I think Hardik, you